On a serious note, we just ask that in these great times of need, as all the world's structures and infrastructures fall apart, that you take the time and the precious energy used in this finger to click your way all the way to a like on 8th Circuit Cafe.
Remember what's truly important.
We are coming to the end of snowboarding season. We might have another day or two on the mountain.
Yeah, I'm only going to go, like, it needs to get either really slushy or it needs to snow. I can't do the ice pack anymore. I'm burnt on the ice pack experience.
Yeah, when it gets warm enough in the afternoon that it gets real soft, but it hard freezes overnight, and the corduroy is just like a...
Yeah, when we went out this last time, it was like the whole mountain had been so packed from all the thousands of people on it. It was literally like riding an ice cube, except for it was snowing, but it wasn't like big fluffy.
A tiny bit of snow
Yeah.
on top of your ice sheet.
Yeah, outrageous, and you could get going really fast. You could lose your edge really easy. Like,
You can't steer very well.
No, you
Really,
don't have
you're
good control.
You're checking your speed
a lot.
a little bit more than you're steering.
Yeah. When we went up and did the trees right before we left, it was a lot of that. The tree runs I was opening up, I felt really confident. I must have felt overly confident because I went and wrecked right afterwards. I mean, I do think it's almost comical that one of my last days on the mountain for the season, I rode trees in blacks like they were just mine. I was in control, and the moment I go try to do some silly little kids thing, it just jacked me up.
Adventureland ate you for breakfast.
Ate me for breakfast, dude. And like literally right before that, just killing it over by the power lines. Just, and we didn't do the whole power line run because there were so many people. And that one, turns out a lot of people know.
Yeah.
A lot of people go back there.
Yeah, I've been finding a lot of folks down that direction.
Yeah. So that's definitely like a key place in our mountain up there.
Yeah. Same with that spot off to the right of Sunset.
Yep.
Past the sign. You just keep going as far as you can until you kind of get to the border fence, and then there's some great steep tree run stuff.
Yeah.
But when there's powder, it's
So much.
it's magical.
It is magical.
And it just drops you right out at the curve there where you would drop in to the racetrack.
Yep,
I always forget the name of that run.
Me too.
I need to start like memorizing the names of the runs.
Well, what we did is we hung up all the maps upstairs. So when we're talking, I'll be like, let's go to the bathroom and look at the map. So we can, because I actually, before this year, didn't know one name of anything on that mountain.
I know.
I had no idea. No
I
idea.
couldn't even remember which one was the Millennium and which was the Triple.
I know, right? Yeah. It's so
I was
weird.
like, the one that's higher up.
I know. And then you run into these guys that have it mapped, and they're like, "So what are you riding today?"
And they're telling you every single run
Yeah, and
by name.
I don't know which one I was on.
I went to that place over there, started with this, and then kind of went that away.
Yeah. It's hilarious. But it's interesting coming out of this just fantastic snowboarding season. I mean, the weather has been okay. I've gotten 5 or 6 powder days.
Yeah, we've gotten more powder days in our season than we did last season we were out.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of it was, first month was all, man-made snow, which was
First month was rough, but we got our legs back under us by the time the good conditions came.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean,
Learned how to ski in the crowds during Christmas and the holiday break.
that was a trip.
It's been weird seeing it again for spring break now. It's almost the same level of crowd up there as we had from Christmas to New Year's.
Yeah, it's crazy. I see why it turns into a big party at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's what it's working towards. Like, the vibe up there is just getting romantic.
And the weather's getting really nice, sunny days. So it's a day at the beach.
Yeah, it is.
You go surfing a little bit, and then you
Hang out the bar.
hang out at the bar.
Yeah, totally. And I think my body's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. I put it through so much hell this last, 3.5 months. Every time I got good, I'd wreck. I think that's part of it. But I've just had so many like layouts where I got.
You've had a series of setbacks, like where it takes a while to recover.
Yeah, 3 or 5 days. That seems to be my 3 or 5 day wreck. It takes 3 or 5 days to get back together.
Yeah, well, not shit. I just had the one bad one this season, but it put me out for, what was 2 weeks before I was back on the mountain.
Yeah.
But the first couple days back on the mountain were painful.
Mm-hmm.
I probably, I had no business being out there, but.
You got to do it.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
You got to do it. It reminds me of when we were in Purgatory. My first day, last run, me and Steve get lost, end up on these, I got hurt really bad, and I had to go out the next day. I'm glad I did, but to be honest, I had no business being out there. I couldn't control myself. Like, I didn't have any upper body control at all.
Yeah. But you were just doing more easy cruising.
Yeah.
You weren't trying to hit anything gnarly. It was really just a day to
get my feet back under me.
Hang out with the fam on the mountain. And not wreck.
Yeah, not wreck.
And I remember you saying at the end of that day, you were like, I did not wreck today. I know, I can never manage that. As soon as I'm thinking, I really don't want to wreck. If I wreck today, it's going to hurt. Like, as I'm thinking it.
Yep. Boom. Boom. Well, that's what happened my last day on Santa Fe 4 days ago. Yeah. I was literally a minute from my car.
Yeah.
A minute.
Because you're already letting it down mentally.
Yeah. I had let all the things go, and it's strange when you have those types of wrecks, like your memory gets all jostled. And I don't think it's from the wreck. I think it's what our consciousness does with trauma like that. It just gets tiny, single images.
Yeah.
And it
compresses the whole memory into this little flash.
Snap. Yep. Because I remember Flash seeing skis next to me and being like, wow, I wonder why that guy's... And then next thing I remember is couldn't breathe. And I literally...
Yeah, and I think it's because it lets your body go into ragdoll, right?
Just let's go.
Yeah, because if you're really trying on a crash like that, to catch yourself, you're just going to break your wrist or you just make it worse.
Yeah.
And if you can just completely jellyfish, so you just sort of bounce and roll. And
Well, that was my problem with my last wreck, is I did not let go at all. I let go of the memory, but I did not let go of trying to not wreck, because I knew the direction I was falling, it was going to hurt. And, I hit my face so hard, I honestly sat there for a minute or two. I thought I broke out all my teeth because I hit across here so hard, and all I could taste was blood because I had broken something up, cracked something open.
You had like a nosebleed.
Yeah, but it was coming down my throat, and I thought that was coming from my mouth, and my face was swollen up right here, And it's funny when you're in those moments, you're like, oh my God, I've got to check myself. Am I broken? But at the same time, you're wondering, is somebody going to hit me? Because I remember looking around like, is somebody going to hit me?
I got to crawl out of the way.
Yeah, dude.
Over to the trees.
Yeah, and go moan over there for a while. Yeah. So I've enjoyed the last, bit of snowboarding. I'm looking forward to the final few weeks. I'm definitely not going to be hitting it really hard.
Yeah, I think this late season stuff, it's time to enjoy the sunshine and surf some fun runs.
Yeah.
And if things get a little bit squishy, we can hit some bumps and we can touch some trees.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, I think it's just about wrapping up the season.
Wrapping it up in a good package.
Nice little bow.
Yeah, I don't want this season to end if the other day was my last day, that would be a terrible way to end the season.
Yeah,
it'd be a drag. Yeah.
It's always best to get back up as soon as possible
and re-imprint that thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you're leaving it on a high note where you're really so excited for the next season before this one's even done.
Damn straight, man. So I'm excited for our last bit, but I think my subconscious knows that snowboarding's coming to an end. My dreams have been all about bicycles and hiking and climbing, and I definitely feel the transition this time.
Yeah, spring is a really fun time of the year. I feel like most years in the spring I'm always in a really good place, probably because snowboarding season has been so awesome.
Yeah,
the weather's getting
epic.
Perfect. It's getting so nice to be outside now.
Totally.
And you can hit the trail running and not be sweating buckets. It's so good.
And it'd be perfect for rock climbing, because that's what we want. We want the rocks kind of cold, the air nice for us, but you don't want it really hot, and you definitely don't want your stones hot. Yeah. So I think we got the wall ready. Here in the week, we're going to start doing the wall climbs, maybe daily like we used to.
Yeah, I think we need to make that a part of the work. I mean, that was a really fun chapter at the studio here.
Yeah.
When we were hitting it every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
Every weekday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing like
Yeah.
high numbers of runs. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's always been a pretty challenging wall.
Totally.
2 stories high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now it's got a little bit more challenging.
Oh, yeah.
man. That top's got me scared. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's stuff to climb over after the oververt.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
It is going to be fun. It is going to be fun. And, you know, I think that's like, you know, in life we have these things that become our epicenter. We put all of our energy, and it can be anything. You know, some people do a video game, some people do it with rock climbing, some people do it with, you know, it's our addictions, right? And with snowboarding, you know, we're lucky enough to live with a beautiful mountain in our backyard.
We have such easy access.
Easy access.
What luxury.
We can go any which direction, and there's a different mountain, you know. We're locals to all of this, you know, and, you know, I hope I don't ever start taking that for granted. That's a good thing to remember. But my point being on this little rant is that, you know, in life we find these things that they fill us in such a way, it's like the best drug in the world. You know, when you're in that moment doing 45 miles an hour down the mountain in complete control, you don't have any chitter chatter in your brain. You are in the moment.
Yep. Any thought just skips off like a stone on the surface of the water.
Because you know if you hold on to it, you're going to be skipping down the mountain like a stone on ice, right? Because it's the thought that takes you out of the moment.
And you learn to just love going deeper and deeper into the moment.
Totally, dude. So, you know, we find these things, and you know, lately, you know, we were talking about this, you know, before we started shooting, about this like idea that the Hindus and the Buddhists have about addiction. And it's so easy to get addicted to this kind of thing. And it's not a bad addiction. It's a really good thing, especially when you have like the apparatus, when you have the tools at your disposal to do that meditational work of clearing your thoughts, to becoming in the moment. Like, that's kind of a really good addiction to have. But it's so physical.
Yeah, especially if you can use it as a template to bring yourself into presence in other practices. I've been finding they all cross-reference. Once, you know, I kind of, there was a time when I thought like I had a meditation practice, and I had, you know, like these athletic things that I like to do, and I have these, you know, intellectual pursuits that, you know, all these, and I realized that the more that I really dive into this consciousness thing, that they're all doing the same thing.
They're all your work.
They're all different aspects of the meditation that brings me to presence. And if I can treat them all as that, then yeah, I can sense what my energy is today, and then try to think of like all the different ways that I engage with
your tools.
With my tools, that, and then figure out exactly which one is the right thing for my energy state, by the one that sounds the most inspiring to do.
Totally. So, you know, I started having dreams about bicycles, started like, you know, the whole shop has changed tone, you know. Snowboarding gear starting to get smaller. It's starting to kind of figure out where to go live for the summer. And it brought the last few days of laying in bed or laying on the couch trying to heal this rib injury was, I've been thinking a lot about like how my body knows that it's getting ready to go into a different state. And it's not going to do that anymore. And it's already deciding for me on a subconscious level, it wants to do other fun stuff like that. That's what it wants. It's looking for it. It's manifesting in dreams. In my daydreaming, I'm daydreaming about, you know. And I think about...
My body's so happy when I'm engaging in something that's fiercely physical.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And also, like, you know, chaotic. You know, there's...
Yeah. Oh, like, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you've done that rock climb over and over, you never know what's going to happen.
You can do the same run over and over again on a snowboard, and each time is a little bit different. Totally.
You know, it reminds me a story that a little thing I went through years and years ago living in Arkansas. And there was this cliff wall behind where we lived, and it was a decent-sized cliff wall, and it was in an old crystal mine. So I would climb this thing. It was oververt, you know, maybe 50 feet, and it had a few little cliff things on it. But I never used rope. I didn't use rope until 4 years ago. Never even thought about using a rope.
Like we never used to wear helmets on the mountain.
Exactly. And like I used to skateboard without wrist guards and knee pads. That's why I've broken all that stuff so many times. So I was climbing this thing without a rope. And because, I was just doing my thing. That's what I did back then. And I was, I don't know, 20, 30 feet off the ground. And there's this little cliff area, it was about 2 feet wide. And it was a spot I'd go to because in the overhang of that cliff, there was a crystal pocket. And I could go in there and my little tiny tool bag, I could chip out some stones I'd make into jewelry. And it was just a spot I would go do. And I went up one day, got my hands on the pulled myself up onto the shelf. And once I got all the way up on there, there was a family of copperhead snakes laying in the sun that came out of this crack in the cliff. Makes total sense. If I was a snake, that's primo territory.
Yeah, you don't expect to be disturbed while you're sunning yourself.
No, because you're up on this wall. So all of a sudden, I'm up on the wall with this snake and its little family, and I had no choice. I had to figure out the moment. And first thing I did is I paid attention to my breath. What signal am I sending? And I was winded because I just climbed. And it actually worked out really well for me. It allowed me to calm down quick enough that I realized I just needed to very smoothly go over a few feet and go up.
Just make it clear.
Clear.
I'm staying out of your way.
And I'm coming over here. And I did that. I did a few breath cycles. I took a few little side steps on this cliff, and the whole time I got my left hand reaching until I found a good hold, and then I went up and got up out of the way of the snake. And, talking about this accepting chaos into our lives that we do in these sports and in our work and who we are, how we live, you never know. You could do something 100 times, and this one time you're going to come around the corner on your snowboard, and maybe something had happened to that part of that track where you're in a state of chaos, where you have to make a life decision in that moment. Am I going to bail? Am I going to just jump back because I saw the snake? Well, I probably wouldn't be here right now if I would have done that. Yeah. And so when we're looking for me personally, when I'm looking for these types of experiences in life, for a long time I didn't even know I was doing it for an actual purpose. I thought that I loved skateboarding so much that...
Well, we think it's the thing.
Yeah.
And what it really is what the thing allows us to access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
totally.
Yeah, we all get these collections of things that we can really engage with and be so present with in all these different ways.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes we get caught into the thing.
The thing itself.
Yep.
I've been noticing that with playing music, where I got into playing guitar as a teenager, and it was so fun playing in bands. And, then at a certain point, it got to be about, where I had played shows and, how good the music I was playing was. And I was so concerned about, impressing everyone that would come see it, that it just stopped being fun. And, it becomes this anxiety-inducing stage fright kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be sweating on stage, and it's taken really years to just kind of get back to that place where it's just about
playing
and enjoying it, how it feels so good to sit and play and sing. And I don't really care. It's like learning how to dance at a wedding, with all your aunts and uncles and stuff. You be silly, and you don't worry if you look cool, but it feels so good.
Word. And snowboarding has felt great, except for when it doesn't. I think for us, we're the type of people that the type of experiences that we need to awaken that deepest inner self, a lot of times they're dangerous. They teeter on the...
It's part of accepting that chaos into the situation.
Yeah.
The spontaneity to be able to respond, and to be in a position where it can go sideways. It can go really sideways.
Yeah.
And it makes it real. It makes it, I don't know. It makes it more possible to access the spirit through it somehow, because there is real risk to it.
Yeah. I'm excited for the rock climbing part of our next summer, because we've taken out a lot of the risk factor
Mm-hmm.
You know, we really went deep on it and
Yeah,
figured.
we've learned our equipment
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
well.
And we have all it.
We
Yeah.
all trust each other
Yep.
very, very
Yep.
thoroughly as belay.
Yeah, totally. And we're not going out and putting ourselves in places that nobody's ever climbed. We're going to
Exactly.
places that have been hit. You know, it's like
Yeah.
starting with groomers.
Exactly.
You know, I think I'm really, really, really excited for this. I think my body is really excited. I know.
My body needs it. I can tell
Yeah.
just with some of this rib stuff and, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The-
hard.
Yeah, the core work and the range of motion work necessary for that is the PT that I need for
Yeah.
all this
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah. And it's crazy because my first season of snowboarding, I tore my legs in half. Like everything hurt, knees, ankles. I remember having problems with my hips where I couldn't even walk the next day. I've got zero leg problem. It's all upper body.
Mm-hmm.
Every single wreck I've had has been all upper body.
Right, and the legs are just strong from all the days out on the mountain.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm trying to get the transition made before any of that muscle has time to, to relapse out.
Yeah, yeah.
And transition it onto the bike
Yeah.
and to the running.
Totally.
Which, they're different muscle sets, but there is a core muscle thing that's
Yeah, it's
still-
movement.
Yeah, that's still very much engaged from snowboarding season.
Totally, dude. And rock climbing, it's way over 50% leg.
Not the way I do it.
No, not the way you do it. But I think
That's the main thing I need to work on in
Yeah.
my technique is
Yeah.
making it a 4-pointed crawl up the wall.
Yeah.
Not just.
this arm thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that works. I think what
Well,
we'll,
it lets me hit some pretty crazy stuff.
it does. And,
but-
well, and it's also what's going to change that is now that we're going to be practicing lead climbing, you're going to have to use your legs
Yeah, it's true.
because you're
'Cause
going to
I'm going to have to be
yeah,
running
yeah,
the safety.
yeah, which is going to be epic.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait, man. I'm looking forward to the whole thing. I'm really looking forward to healing a little bit more. That was a rough ass weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was rough. Like,
Well,
you know.
those first few days, with rib stuff, not being able to breathe is kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially once you've really integrated breath work into your work.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
for me, it's every day. That's the main thing that's centering me.
Mhm.
And it's the main thing that I reach for to try to keep myself in presence and not get engaged with all the mental chatter and the stories that my mind is making up.
Totally.
And
Yeah. For me, I lean heavier towards ritual. I use rituals to like do these steps, which in my ritual I'd use a lot of breath work and all the cycling of energy and all the different things.
Mhm.
But my rituals are very physically intensive. I use my entire body through the ritual for long periods of time in crazy positions and crazy ways of being. And when I get really hurt, I can't imagine going into my temple. Like I literally.
I have to modify my ritual a bit.
Well, what I
you
did
know?
today, I needed to do a small ritual just to get ready for, shooting this. And so I had to do it leaned up against the wall in the shower and visualize myself in my temple doing my
Yeah,
thing.
That's what I was just going to say. When I had my rib thing, I mean, I could hardly move anywhere. So it really was like sit on the couch in a comfortable position with my eyes closed. And in my mind, go to my temple and
Yeah.
mentally do the whole process.
Word. And then those are good points. But, I definitely realize that I require my body to have the mental breakthroughs I'm seeking. And when my body's hurt, I don't get the same thing out of life,
Yeah. I love that in seeing through that false dichotomy of like the spirit being separate from the body, when all of the most effective methods and tools that I've found that bring me into like the deepest sense of spiritual unity, they go into my body first.
Well, your
And-
body's the radio that picks
Yeah.
up the signal.
Yeah, it's
And
the antenna.
It's like when we forget that, I think, and Taro Ali's hilarious about it. He really picks on all of these guys that we've been studying. Really pick on that whole hippie yoga pants thing. They pick on that hard. And I'm guessing, for years, you've heard me say this forever. I'm always going fucking hippies. I've been saying that forever, because I was raised by a fucking hippie. And I do not have anything against hippies. I don't have anything against their culture. I love their music. I love their clothing. I think the whole thing's hilarious. But somewhere when I was younger, I decided, fucking hippies. Because they're this idea that the body doesn't matter and
That the spirit is superior.
to this whole, and they got blissed out and they have a hard time. I have a hard time connecting to a lot of them because I feel like they left their body behind, and I think it's funny, these guys, definitely in tarot, we're getting ready to do an episode on the second circuit, second chakra, the emotional gear, territorial, emotional. And it just blows me away when you go through all of the three masters of this path, how much they make sure to overly emphasize, don't lose your body through this.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to do, And I think that's why I was like, not just because my dad was a hippie, you always rebel against your parents. That's kind of normal. So, I definitely went punk rock and not the hippie thing. But, nowadays we see it everywhere. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's great that there's like, yoga studios and different meditational places. I know Santa Fe is full of that kind of thing. And I think it's great. I love that people have that to do. I personally have still like an issue with the whole thing because I think that when we disrespect the system in which we live in, the system falls apart. And at the same time, if we overly emphasize the system we live in, we can damage that system. Snowboarding, damage, skateboarding season's coming up, I'm going to get some damage. But I'm doing all this to use my body, to be in my body, to be at one with my body. When my body is at its peak performance and it is in its just right on the target, my spiritual aspects are a lot more identifiable, usable, enjoyable. They're mine. They're coming from my body being engaged in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I think that, with the way the world is right now, we have so many people, and I myself am totally guilty of this. I get caught into the mental work and forget about my body, I've been totally known to lose hours a day online. Hours. I don't even know where they go. Don't even have a fucking clue. I just picked up my, tablet. Next thing I know, it's 4 hours later. I know that's not good for my body. It can't be. I'm lost in this,
But yeah, all of these things come in seasons and cycles.
Mm-hmm.
I find I tend to oscillate between, being more mental and kind of intellectualizing my spiritual work and kind of building some, structures. Mm-hmm. And then periods where I'm really physically engaged and, the meditations are physical and the athletics and all the things I do to go deeply into my body are very physical. Mm-hmm. And then I'll, either realize that I'm trying to learn to realize when I need to tamp down the fire in certain ways and then lean the other direction, like a nice, clean snowboarding-esque carve. Mm-hmm. But, I'll tend to go into that physical realm, and I love how it feels so much when I'm there that I'll kind of just keep going until I either have a big crash on the snowboard or I get like a knee injury or something that slows me, my back throws out. It's something burns out. Yeah. And then I pick up on my intellectual work because I need something to do while I can't be physical. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to learn to, oscillate between those two in a bit of a tighter band so that they're supporting each other day after day,
totally,
hour after hour.
Balance.
Yeah,
balance. Finding balance. Yeah. I'm feeling the same way. I've been pushing the body so hard. I've had like 3 major wrecks this season, and all in all, that means I've lost 15 to 20 days of the season because of moments not really having balance, where I wasn't thinking correctly. I was pushing too hard.
And being on the mountain on a day when the conditions aren't great.
Yeah. I'm still going.
Yeah,
still
and
going.
And it's not feeling amazing, but it's I'm up here and it's a day on the snowboard.
Yeah.
And that's always true.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah. Well, I think that's good. Like, I like the fact that this system is designed for our bodies, our spirits, for who we are in such a way. If we go really far one way or the other, there's a burnout line, and you're going to hit it. If you just keep going, you're going to hit something. Your body's going to give out. You're going to hit a tree, whatever.
Well, and it's also like we were talking about with like this addiction to, predictability and not allowing the spontaneity in there. It's almost like when I'm really going out there, like it's just not spontaneous anymore. I'm hitting that same hike over and over again, and I'm just trying to crush it a little bit harder each time. And, to get that feeling, I just have to go over the line of safety and, put myself in a dangerous situation. Where if I had, backed away from that particular hike and that particular goal and balanced it out with some of my, calming, spiritual, intellectual work that, is, more on the cool side of things, not just all the fire, then, I wouldn't have been in that dangerous situation, and I would have increased the novelty and the new things coming at me by not just going into that one until
you can't get out.
Until I
Totally. And I think it goes the other direction too. I remember in my life I've had many a times. I've had times that I'm getting ready to speak of just in the last 3 or 4 months, 4 months ago, where I got so into my spiritual reading and all that, like I went off the rail.
And you get out of the practice of doing it.
Yeah, and you just become this like info junkie.
And you start building sandcastles, elaborate, beautiful sandcastles, and they're made of sand because they're not built out of
stone.
The stone of practice. They're built out of
mental sand. Yeah, little tiny pieces. Yeah, it's cool, man. And once again, it's neat that we have that in our system. That no matter which direction we go, if we go far enough, we're going to crash. And then if you're lucky, you have some tools you can rely on to pull you back towards that middle ground. You know.
Yeah, the things that bring you back to center when you're in either direction.
Yeah, I think that's what our society is missing right now. Everybody's either so far one direction or the other, and there's not a lot of people trying to find that middle anymore.
The balance and flow. Really the seasonality of all of these aspects of life too.
I'm really glad you mentioned the seasonality. Like right when you said that, it locked something in my mind about the season that we're getting out of snowboard season. It's a different season, man. It's a different we're experiencing the very end of a beautiful season. And if we can accept it as being that it's just been this beautiful season, and now there's going to be this next beautiful season.
This season is coming, and it's going to be different. It's going to be novel.
It's going to be really novel. It has to be.
And we're going to be hitting new stuff.
Yeah,
we're
totally.
Hitting stuff on the rocks outside of Santa Fe here that we've not done before.
Yep, exactly, man.
Right. And I think learning how to do group rides on the road bikes is going to be a really great thing for us.
Oh, totally, dude. Group rides are going to be spectacular because this is why do we have so many bikes on the road here? Why
it's such a perfect place to ride.
Perfect place to ride. And literally we could leave the shop and go down one of the most beautiful rides ever.
Yeah.
Backside of Bonanza Creek, back around. Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. And that way, all of our ranch friends can yell at us.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be the guys on the bikes. I personally, think about skateboarding, and thinking about wrecking, because that's a big part of all these sideways sports, like something about doing things sideways. You have a lot higher chance of wrecking.
Yeah.
I've been doing everything sideways anyway, so I'm going to just keep doing it. But I'm planning this year's skateboarding season, man. I'm going to take this like professionally. I'm not looking to be a professional, but I'm going to look at it like a professional. And starting next Wednesday, I'm going to skate school once a week. Going to go ride with a bunch of guys way better than me on a bunch of half pipe, vert stuff. Start really working that in, pad up. I'm going to use all my meditation. I'm going to treat it like I have snowboarding, and then take that down into Albuquerque. Because Albuquerque, I've only done Indian school in 3 Mile. It's the only 2 ditches I've ever rode, except for these little tiny parts of ditches. But Albuquerque has a whole interconnected
giant network.
I've got friends that go out there and they'll get on one ditch and they will be in that ditch until midday on one run because they're so long. You just got to know the map.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and how much cleanup do you have to do before you make the run?
you just wait for it to
typically?
rain 2 days before, and that's clean.
There you go.
Because the ditch is designed to roll all that
Yeah,
crap
that's
out of it.
That's what they're for.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, when you're running down the ditch, you're just looking for these little like mole hills. Because something about how the water moves through concrete and the shape in which these ditches were made, and they're perfect, but it leaves these little, like, 1 foot by 6 inch little dirt mounds about every 15 feet. So we look at them like they're those cones, like you're doing the slalom run.
Sure.
We just slalom through them, and there's certain parts of the ditches you definitely want to, like, go out with somebody that knows it. Indian school, it's taken some lives. There's been some kids who never came home from that ditch because there's some dangerous places where you'll come fly, and if you don't know, you need to speed check. And if you're not aware of the fact you got to duck down and go into a road,
Right.
people get hit.
Get
They
clotheslined.
get
Yeah.
clotheslined at 35 miles an hour with pure concrete and metal. It's not snow. But for this year, I'm looking at it like, oh my God, I can do that. For years.
I'll just crash right through the concrete and metal.
No,
I can do it.
I can actually remember and thin down, man. I'm like, I got a friend. He's a film friend of mine, and he always wears. He looks like Mr. Miyagi. And if you see this, man, you're a badass. But he wears this Mr. Miyagi band around his head, and he doesn't go without it. Like, he's on every single film, doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, it doesn't matter anything. He's got this, like, Mr. Miyagi headband thing tied around his head. And he doesn't, like, do it to pull his hair back. He literally just has this band like he's a Karate Kid or something, right? And I know a lot of people was wondering, like, what's up with this dude? Why does he do that? Like, it's just weird. It looks weird. Like, why has he got that band on every single moment? I've never seen him without it. Well, a few years ago, I was like, dude, I got it. Why? Why do you wear that, bro? Just need to know. Not that I'm saying anything. I got shit tattooed on my face. Like, you want to wear a headband all day? That's cool. Why? Tell me why. And he's like, Indian school. I'm like, what? He's like, went down to Indian school, had maybe, a little bit of altered mind state, going really fast, forgot to duck at one of the underpassings. And he said that he hit his head so hard it should have killed him, knocked him plumb out. Came through. What saved him is right before he did that, he was sweating, so he took this shirt thing and tied it around his head. And that little bit
of padding.
Most
Saved
definitely
his life.
saved his life. So he always wears it like it's a ninja thing every day,
That's
right?
cool.
It is cool, man. So, I know that, like, ditch skating isn't for everybody. Snowboarding's not for everybody.
Nothing's for everybody.
No,
you
no.
know?
But, thank God that there's 80 billion, every single person has a different thing they can do.
Well, and every single person can find those things that light them up. They get the fire stoked.
Yeah.
The last few times I've gone through some darker patches where I just knew, like, oh, my energy's just it's just fucked. That even when I'm too tired to even want to start my meditation practice, which I know is helpful. I found that all it really is just find those things that make me feel alive and happy and awesome. A day of snowboarding on the mountain, I can't be upset by the end of that day.
No.
And it takes a few days in a row of proving to yourself that that you have the commitment to yourself to bring your consciousness to awesome places, to do awesome things. That I'm going to bring myself out. I'm going to take myself out to do the stuff that I love. And then before you know it, you just start to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you feel that, like, it's like the process of loving yourself. But each one of those things, it's like another little stick that you're adding to the fire. You got to slowly build it. You got to be babysitting it so it doesn't, go out of control or blow out. But before long, that fire's rekindled and it kind of takes care of itself.
Word.
Nice bed of coals in there. You can
do whatever you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's it's these things that make you just feel awesome, feel alive.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of this stuff is a really cheap entry.
Oh,
it's,
God, yeah.
It's not expensive to do this stuff. Snowboarding's not expensive.
No.
It's not at all. I think about how many friends of mine in the past, and I myself was one of them. That's why I was so late snowboarding. I looked at the entry cost. I'm like, well, first off, I knew I'd love it so much that it would forever change my life. So I tried to not go there for a long time. skateboarding.
Until you were ready for
Until
it.
I was ready for it, but like skateboarding, it's cheap, man. You can get a good skateboard from a decent skate shop board. Every skate shop has these blank decks. They're cheap and they're good decks. The shop's not going to sell a junky skate shop deck because that's their advertisement. That's their brand. So, you can get a deck for, and wheels and trucks and mounting hardware for, $150, $175 for a good one.
Mm-hmm. And hours and hours and hours of
all you need is
fun.
18 feet of concrete and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And I love, like, in skate culture, we have these few iconic heroes that changed the lay of the land of what skateboarding was, and what it's still becoming. And, a lot of these guys, they didn't start out living with a skate park. They didn't start out with anything like that. They had a piece of concrete in front of their house, and on that single piece of concrete developed their style. And then, there's a few of them that have become, multi-millionaires because they had a piece of concrete in front of their house. Mm-hmm. And their parents were wise enough to buy them a $100 skateboard to keep their kid busy,
Yeah, it's like when, my folks were smart enough to buy me a nice guitar.
Yeah.
And that kept me busy.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't involved in all the other crazy activities that I would do.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I wasn't out getting in trouble. I was in my room shredding on my Telecaster.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, and I had bicycles. My dad got me into BMX bike racing when I was a little kid. I never had a junky bike ever in my life. I always had top quality bikes my entire life. Love bikes. They kept me out of trouble until I discovered skateboarding. And then I kind of got in a lot of trouble for a while, It's this little radical kind of group of folks,
Well, especially back in the day when there was not a socially accepted place for it.
Yeah. Well, you were an outlaw.
It was an outlaw thing.
Yeah.
All these places were worried about their insurance liability. That, like, you can't come skateboard on on the grounds of our corporate campus.
Yeah. And they also,
if you break your arm, you're going to sue us.
Well, they did it in cities. They're like, skateboarding was illegal.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to skate anywhere, And they did that right whenever they shut down all the skate parks, leaving a lot of kids no place to go. Which, in skateboard history, in the canon of skateboarding, that's what made us become the people we did. It's because we weren't allowed to do it, but we knew we had the thing. It's like talking to the old snowboarders here, because snowboarding wasn't allowed on these mountains forever.
Yeah, New Mexico was the last place in the world, I think,
to
allow snowboards.
Yeah, man, and these guys had to fight for it, and I think that feeds the fire of that creative spirit when there's a little bit of resistance against that thing that you need to do. Oh man, that's some fun stuff.
Yep, that's how I always felt back in the day, smoking weed.
Oh yeah, man, totally, dude. Totally.
It was such an innocent thing, and you knew it. And man, the fact that the man didn't want you to do it made it that much more interesting. And then around the time that it started getting legalized and really socially accepted, for a long time, I really kind of, I don't know, it's like the allure of the rebellion is part of it.
It is, man.
When you're young, anyway.
Yeah, well, even when you're older, because like remember, I quit, smoking THC for months, and I quit on the day it became legal in the state.
Right.
With my medical card. I was like, and I didn't know it was becoming legal that day. I just woke up that day and I'm like, I do not need any more of this in my head for a while. Yeah. Which is funny because.
Well, that's how it is with all substances. Well, yeah, and it's like we were talking about that in that addiction sense. It's like you can use the substance to make the moment more wonderful and more engaging, and as long as you're using it spontaneously with that sense of playfulness,
man, it's
that's
cool.
where it's at.
Yeah.
But then when that just becomes the habitual thing, that every time you're together doing the thing, you've got the substance that predicates the experience, and then that's then taking you out of the moment.
Yep.
So and that's another one of these balance things, and the problem is similar to that burnout mentality that we have with snowboarding, where we just go and go until we crash. Right? I'll find something that like, oh, this is great. It's helpful to me.
Yeah.
And I'll, let it help me until I make it the solution. And then at a certain point, I just have to be like, gosh, how many times have I in my life been like, I need to just quit smoking weed for a while. It's just not good for me. But it's not that the weed isn't good for me, because in the right state and circumstances, with the right respect and reverence, it is good for me. But Yeah,
there's-
when I make it the end in itself, it's not good for me. And if
Totally.
I've done that for a long enough time, it's just not going to treat me right
Yep.
until I
Get respect for it
until I
again.
knock it off
Yeah.
and start and learn balance.
Well,
That the moving balance, the flowing process of balancing
Mm-hmm.
edge to edge and pole to pole,
totally, man.
resonance.
Resonance. Yeah, man, totally. Yeah, I've been reading a lot of Angel Tech lately, and he's really about resonance, and how that works with our emotional state, and how we develop these fears that we overlay our addictions on top of these fears, and which right there, it's bound for disaster. If you're using anything, I mean anything,
To get yourself around fear.
yeah, then you're in a pickle. You're in a pickle. And thank goodness that the snowboarding season's coming to an end. So thankful. The summer and spring, it's going to just be beautiful here in epic New Mexico. Got
It's
a
going to be
little
so good. I have so many mountains I'm ready to climb. Cliff faces I'm ready to climb.
sick.
Right?
Sick. Yeah.
We're going to eat some miles on the bikes.
No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. My head's already. I just so addicted to skating. I'm like, oh, the ditch. I just can't wait to go back. Like it's snowboarding. It's literally snowboarding on concrete. That's exactly what it is. Except for
Snow is a bit more forgiving.
yeah, snow's way more forgiving. But I need that. I hurt myself really bad this year quite a few times. I need to go back to skating with a decent amount of caution.
Yeah.
I'm not really wanting to get hurt skateboarding. Snowboarding, it's kind of inevitable. Like I went for 20 days without one wreck, but then I'll wreck 3 times in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, early season I didn't wreck badly at all. Some spills, but yeah. It's almost, I forgot how scary it is to have a big wreck. And so I had the biggest wreck ever.
Yeah, you did. The biggest wreck of the year, for sure.
Of my life,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It was neat to experience. Well, I'm looking forward to the last few days of snowboarding. Looking forward to getting some climbing in. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow, too.
Yeah, man.
Right on, brother. Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And-
Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy hearing us yammer at each other.
Yeah.
We enjoy having you here.
Yeah. Please come check out the rest of our channel. We got a few different videos on there, some music and a little bit of snowboarding. Some other stuff's coming up soon. So y'all take care, and I'm going to go put some ice on my ribs.